Hello everyone, here we are at the Doppel's album launch party with the man, the veteran of the Canberra electronic music scene, Ed Reading, aka Disect, aka Humanism. Hello Eddie, good to see you.
Good to see you too, thanks for having me.
Mate, what do you think about the party, the event itself? We haven't had many in or around Canberra.
Yeah, well, people, it's been a rough year, hasn't it? So it's about time for something like this, and you can't really get a better spot. And you know, this crew have proved to be like one of the best things for the Canberra music scene. You know, like they always do. They do big events and they do it professionally, and you know, it's nice to see Andy be, you know, having such success. And I think it's nice that most artists that get to his level of success will leave Canberra. You know what I mean? Because Sydney or Melbourne or somewhere sucks artists like that away. So it's nice we want to keep him here, you know. So it's good for Canberra, yeah.
I agree. Yeah, it's great that he is, you know, putting on this event, bringing the community back together. Yeah, we needed this. Well, let's talk about him a little bit. Have you listened to the album?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's really good. I think he's done a bunch of singles and lots of remixes and stuff. So it's nice to see. I mean, I guess it's like the one advantage of the lockdown is it's like made him stay in the studio for, you know, a year or so, and then you get a full album out of it, which is nice. Yeah.
Yes, I'm aware he released some of them as EPs or singles. I've listened to some of them, and now, yeah, they're on the full album. Do you have a favorite track on the album?
Yeah, I actually really like the track called Escape Ferocity, which Escape Ferocity is the name of the crew running the party, so obviously it's like a little bit of an ode to them, which I think is nice. And yeah, I mean, you can hear how good it is, the quality of it. Like, you know, the guys, he's been around, like, so it's nice to see, like, you know, other artists like doing really well in Canberra. Like, it's great.
Yeah, you know, Escape Ferocity, that's the track that sort of doesn't ring a bell for me. I have a few favorites, but Painted, the Eucalyptograph, they're the two of my favorite. So why the Escape Ferocity? Is it because it's a sort of reference to this crew, or why do you like that particular track?
Oh, it just has a really nice drum loop going through the track. That really sort of resonated with me, and he just he has a very smooth, just so you can hear the production quality, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think his other track Melt, like released really well, and yeah, he's doing great. Like, you can see him. He's obviously gigging a lot, and I think the advantage of this party is that he's gonna get hopefully some money to tour when the world opens up again, because I think, you know, right when COVID hit, he was sort of set to go overseas and do all this stuff. So it's really nice of like Dave and Escape Ferocity to look after him, and, you know, I think all the profits are going to him. So, you know, it's an example of you know, I think Canberra, it punches above its weight, and you know, people from outside of Canberra, yeah, there's a funny perception of what Canberra is like to the rest of Australia, that, oh, it's boring and nothing happens there, and it's when you live here, like the longer I live here, the more I like it. So I think I'll be here until I'm very old. So
I agree with you. The more I live in Canberra, the more I start to appreciate its beauties, the surroundings of Canberra, and just the lifestyle. But going back to, you mentioned the production quality of his tracks. Well, I can say the same about your tracks. Your production quality is just, you can hear it, crystal clear, distinct sounds. And I know you have been in music industry for a long time, but maybe for the viewers who are not very well familiar with you, can you tell me how long have you been a musician, a DJ?
I started DJing probably 15, 17 years ago, and back then, it was all vinyl. Like when you went to a club, it was turntables in there. It would be like, the club standard was Technics 1200. So, I remember I really started out buying Breaks vinyl, and that was the first sort of love I had with dance music. And then we used to, it was the time before electro hit, and Breaks was like it, Breaks was what you would be likely to hear if you went out in a club. So I did a lot of that, and I slowly started acquiring psytrance, and saw this guy Tomo, who used to run the psytrance parties in Canberra. Actually saw him up in Sydney at a Skazi gig, and I said to him, I've just bought my first set of psytrance vinyl. And he said, buy me a beer and I'll throw you a set at my next party. And I said, mate, I'll buy you two, you know what I mean? Like, I was so excited. And that's where it sort of started for me. I'd been playing psytrance vinyl for a while, and it was really from seeing an Infected Mushroom a couple of times and like listening to them religiously. Like, it's a bit of the psytrance cliche, you know what I mean? Like, they kind of brought a lot of the masses to the genre. And it was just a gig in Sydney that I saw them at, and I was with my girlfriend, who's now my wife. And after the gig, I just said to her, like, I have to start writing music, like, I don't care how long it takes or what I have to do, but I really want to, get started. And that was, that was the beginning. It was like, I was at CIT and doing media, and one of the guys in my class used to write experimental music. And I said, wow, that's really cool. And we were talking about like, what programs do you use? And back then, like, this is Reason 2.0. And he said, hey, like, here's a copy, install it on your computer. And then that was it. I was sort of like, I didn't know what I was doing at all. It took a really long time, but I've always just enjoyed it. I enjoy the process and the theory and stuff behind it. So yeah, it's great.
So how long? So when was your first product, or when you first started playing with Reason? How many years has it been?
It's probably been 16, 17 years, I think. I wrote by myself for a little bit, and then I was in another group with two other friends called Digital Spectrum, and we did that for 4 or 5 years, I think. And like, I can see now why. I always wondered why, like, with bands, it must be like really hard for people to, how do you make all of those elements work together, and how do you construct a song, with different people and different personalities and stuff. And so I really wanted to go back to doing it by myself and just having full creative control. And I don't mind having to rely on myself, you know what I mean? And if I want to make a decision, I don't need to discuss it with anyone. I can just do it. And that was probably 10 or 11 years ago, and that was sort of when I started getting a little bit more serious about pushing out releases and yeah.
I know that you've released several albums as Disect, Psytrance albums. How many in total?
Oh my god, that's a really good question. I think 6 or 7.
My god, well, impressive.
Yeah, if I lose count, that's a good sign. You know, back then, you know, things are a little bit different now. I've got a young family now. It's definitely a lot harder to like keep up that same pace, but you know, I try and do it when I can, and I have a nice studio set up now, so you know, I've got the man cave to go to when you know, when I'm going to do that, and yeah, I've got another little secret project happening at the moment, which I have a band with 2 of my friends, and we haven't released anything yet, but I'm really pushing 100% of my time towards like making that happen, because it's exciting and new, and it's challenging for me to do something really different. So I think, you know, it's easy to get stuck in your own genre or subgenre and get a little bit comfortable as well once you like sort of learn some of those tricks, and you can find yourself sort of going, hold on, am I stagnating here, and maybe I'm doing the same thing over and over. That's sort of can be a challenge along the way too, you know.
I love this thinking. I love this approach. Yeah, talking about the genres and experimenting and trying new things. You have been producing for many years as Disect Psytrance. Recently, you have started another project called Humanism, and the album, oh, that blew me away, man. Even now, it's I listen to it maybe once every 2 weeks, and I think the tracks are so kind of different. Like it's never gets boring for me, at least. So tell me, what made you? I guess you already answered what made you try new things, but why this type of music? What's humanism? What is this project all about? But I love what I hear.
I really got inspired actually by a friend of mine who is an artist from up on the north coast of New South Wales, and his name's Hugo, and he has a psytrance project, Purple Haze, and you know, he used to throw club gigs in Canberra. About, that was probably 7 or 8 years ago, and I used to like to look for guys that were like up and comers and like really needed, or like, you know, would be good to get someone that maybe people didn't know that well, but were like really, really good. And this guy, he had just turned 18, and you know, he had really good tracks, and you know, I paid for him to fly down, and you know, he stayed with me, and he's a really nice guy. And anyway, we kept in contact, and so when I went up to the North Coast for a party a couple of times, he'd say, "Oh man, I'll pick you up from the airport and you come and stay with me," and that was really nice to stay with his family. And anyway, I think the second time I'd been up there to stay with him, his sort of bedroom is a studio as well, and he said, "Oh, have a little listen to this," and it was his techno, and his project is Like Liquid. And I was like, well, wow, this doesn't sound like any techno that I've ever heard before. And that's what really inspired me to sort of go, hold on a second, like, this is cool. This is something like I really, you know, could get into. So once I started doing that, you know, obviously the aim for me was to get an hour of my own music that I could play live, and so that took me about a year of, like, you know, hitting it pretty hard to get there. So you know, it's always a nice feeling when you finish, you know, like I think it's 9 or 10 tracks, like finishing those and the process of sending them away to get mastered and getting them back, and then thinking like, oh, finally it's over, and then it's almost terrifying starting all over again. But that's another thing anyway. Like, so yeah, it's been nice, and you know, I've been lucky enough to play at a couple of the events that Escape Ferocity have put on, and as I said, they're always big. They're always really bold, like, as you know, you can see from the stage over there. And so, you know, and now that the world seems to be coming back, yeah, it'd be nice to see like more stuff like this happening in Canberra and, you know, in Australia.
Yes, and you mentioned about the artist who inspired you to do the kind of the humanism kind of music, and that's the feeling I got from listening to your album. It's kind of the techno that I've never heard before, or even is it techno? I wonder, how would you describe this genre? Or I mean, it's got psychedelic elements, it's got everything in it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people just describe it as psychedelic techno. I mean, it's funny, like I've played at a gig in Canberra, and these guys did this gig, and it was like underneath a bridge, sort of, you know, like hidden away, and you know, a couple of people came up to me afterwards and they said, oh yeah, I really love psytrance, and I said, oh well, yeah, me too. I guess, yeah, how do you define something as techno? I mean, I think if the BPM is sort of in that range and there's a like repetitive aspect to it, then you know, that's kind of where your house and techno sits. But yeah, I think it's starting to blur the lines. It's probably becoming one of those subgenres that, you know, it's easy to sort of go, oh well, it's progressive, full-on techno for late nights, or you know, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like people call it, well, people call things different things. I've after listening to a lot of psytrance, and I like psytrance and trance in general, I've sort of, without realizing it, shifted towards techno, and I later realized that I don't really like psytrance as much. I like techno,
Well,
but I wasn't realizing that it was techno.
Well, it's when you and guys like you and me get a little bit older, I think, as well, that you go, hold on a second, I think I like it when it's like slowed down a little bit too. Like, and I think, you know, part of the reason that I got into it is also that it's music that you can play in more. It's more accessible, you know, because sometimes, you know, there's not always a lot of venues that will let you play psytrance all night too, you know, so it gives you a little bit of flexibility on getting gigs and that sort of thing. So yeah, hopefully that helps.
Well, I'm very glad that you're doing it. I love it. I play it all the time. I think more people should be aware of it, more people should listen to it. So on this note, I would like to say, just get on Bandcamp and get the Humanism album. It's only like $10, and you'll love it, and you'll listen it all over again. It never gets boring, so do it. Humanism, here we are at Doppel's album launch party with Ed reading Disect, Humanism. Mate, a few last words from you?
Yeah, thanks for having me, and you know, I'll keep you updated. I really like what you're doing at the moment as well with streaming and DJing, and I think you're getting really creative with what you're doing. So yeah, we have to keep in contact, and yeah, good to see you.
We will. Thank you very much for the interview, mate. That's great.